Brother Kenyon is ministering his last sermon as pastor of First Assembly God over Millville. Shortly, if he still functions the way he used to, he didn't really start to preach till about quarter to 12. But now, here you got, it is so rare that you have a person that has been given the privilege of ministering in the same place for 50 years. Methodist denominations won't even allow that. They just move the pastors around, and most people have gone through most pastors, they get into situations with boards and people and stuff, and they get voted out or forced out or something. So it's just almost unheard of to have a person that has ministered in the same place for 50 years. Now, Brother Kenyon had a way that he wanted to do things, and that's the way he wanted to do it. And that frustrated people, and I was one of those people. I was carnal, not baptized in the Holy Spirit. And I went to church on a Sunday night. He always had altar call. I came up seething inside, upset with him. So he's on one side of the altar, and I'm standing over there, and he grabbed me, and he hugged me, and he prayed in tongues over me for 20 minutes. I'm standing there. It was about 6 months later I got baptized in the Holy Spirit. I believe with all my heart he broke spirits that was over me, praying in the Spirit. I got baptized in the Holy Spirit, so filled with the joy of God. And the Holy Spirit spoke to me and said, all right, now, this is what you must do. You must do this. I said, all right. I said, you go back to Brother Kenyon. Tell him how you were. Ask his forgiveness. And as long as he lives and you live, you will be his servant. Anything he needs and any things that you want, that he wants from you, you do it. And you always prefer him. And you always put him before you. I said, all right, Lord. And so from that point on, anytime there was an election within the section or within the thing, and his name was up, I voted for him. And that's why I fixed this office in here for him. Because I will be obedient to what God did. That was important for me. Because if I hadn't been willing to do that, God could never have used me here. Because I would have had all this bad seed out there working against me. See, there are churches that try to come into existence and they fail and they don't work because they're built on bad foundations. There are people's lives that don't prosper because they haven't got cleaned up. God can't use them in ministry the way he wants to because they're holding grudges. Can't do that. And you've got to make a decision. I'm going to be kind and merciful, forgiving and loving. And I'm going to flow under the authority of God. I'm going to submit myself to him, and I'm going to let him choose. So what's that going to get me? Well, it's going to get you into the favor of God, because it says so here, that person will have the favor of God and favor of man, back there in Proverbs 3. And so this man's retiring. About 2-3 years ago, you know how they have the Christmas parade? And they always have on Channel 2, they have these, Jim Quinn and generally another guys, they're making comments as people are going by, you know. And Brother Kenyon was in a car, and he went by, and the person that was there said, there goes Millville's pastor. And Jim Quinn said, you know, really, that's kind of true. He is Millville's pastor, isn't he? He's been the chaplain of the police department, been very active in schools. Dan Wright says that whenever he was playing football, Brother Kenyon was at every game, every baseball game. He's been a person that would speak out against things that was going on in the public school. He and I went kind of head on this one. I said, I think all the kids belong in the Christian schools. And he says, I think they belong in public schools. And that's never been reconciled between us. But that's no problem. You know, he believed in public schools. He wanted to see the kids in public schools. He wanted to see them be a witness. He would go talk to the principals. He would go talk to the superintendent. He would say this. And his influence, the tentacles of his life and ministry has gone out through the Millville community in ways that you can't really see. Is he going to be retiring with millions of dollars in the bank? No. He'll probably have a little bit of an MBA salary and some Social Security. Was his life wasted? When Commander Joe, I think that was his dad's name, wasn't it? Ranger Joe, yeah, it did. When his dad, the pastor, held this little baby in his arms and said, this is my son, and his life is before him, and I want it to count. Did he do Garrett Kenyon wrong in training him up to be a Christian and to be a pastor and to waste his life in a meaningless cause? Would he have been better off, instead of sending him to CBC, to have sent him to Princeton University, where he could have rubbed elbows with the hoi polloi and become somebody of spatial talents and skills in the earth? How about Dr. Howard Kenyon? He's a doctor, you know. But he chose to be a doctor and to use his talents for God, as opposed to using his skill to acquire and to make money. A good name is rather to be chosen than great riches and wealth. And in some cases, you can have a good name and also have great riches and wealth. But with the great riches and wealth comes great responsibility. You have to administer that wealth as a steward of God and to use it to bring blessings everywhere you go. I've only just kind of scratched around, because in 1 Timothy chapter 3, it tells us what it's going to be like in the day that we're living in. The people are going to be selfish. They're going to be self-centered. They're going to be self-concerned. They're not going to be caring about others. That's a spirit that you're having to deal with. That's a spirit your children will have to deal with. It's a spirit that is a universal spirit that's coming upon the earth. And it's a contrary spirit to God's truth, which says, take your life, serve others, use it to become great in my kingdom. The world spirit says, take your life, your skills, your talents, and sell them to the highest bidder. And if you've got to lie, cheat, and connive to get to the top, do it.